What if I told you there was a Muslim warrior who treated his Christian enemies with respect? Sounds crazy, right? But this man's story is real, and his name was Saladin. He was a Muslim warrior who ruled over Egypt and Syria in the late 12th century. He's known for conquering Jerusalem in 1187, but that's not what he's known for. When he took Jerusalem, he didn't just slaughter everyone in sight like many of his contemporaries did. Instead, he offered his enemies three choices: convert to Islam, leave the city, and live under Muslim rule, or die fighting. And out of all the people who refused to convert or leave the city, he killed less than 70. In fact, when he went to war, he would always send letters to the people he was fighting against, offering them the same choice. If they accepted Islam, he would grant them noble titles and positions in his army. And if they refused, he would fight them with honor. He was actually so respected by his enemies that when he died in 1193, King Richard the Lionheart of England wrote, "We have lost a great baron, the likes of which will not easily be found." So how did this Muslim warrior become such a legend? Let's find out. Saladin was born in 1137 to a Kurdish family in the city of Tikrit, Iraq. His father, Najmuddin Ayyub was a Kurdish military commander in the service of the Zengid dynasty, an Islamic dynasty of Turkish origin that had seized much of Syria from the declining Abbasid Caliphate. His mother Turkan was the daughter of a Christian Armenian prince, which gave Saladin a unique perspective on the world. You see, growing up, he learned about the teachings of Islam from his father and the teachings of Christianity from his mother. And as a result, he became very tolerant of other religions. As a young man, Saladin distinguished himself as a brave and intelligent warrior, and at the age of 21, he was put in charge of the defense of a city called Manbij. Now, soon after he took over, the armies of the Crusader Kingdom of Jerusalem laid siege to the city, and Saladin, despite being outnumbered, managed to defend it successfully. This caught the attention of his overlord, Zenghi's vizier, Shirk al-Adim, who made him commander of his elite guard. In 1164, Saladin's big chance came. Shirkuh fell ill and asked Saladin to take over his position as vizier. At first, Saladin hesitated because he wasn't sure if he was qualified for the job, but Shirk insisted and named him vizier while he went to see the doctor. And as soon as Shirkuh left, Saladin proved why he was the best man for the job. See, a vizier named al-Adil was trying to take over Egypt and overthrow Saladin's rule. But thanks to Saladin's intelligence and military prowess, he was able to defeat al-Adil and secure his position as vizier of Egypt. From there, Saladin began to rebuild Egypt after years of neglect and strife. He established a new capital in Cairo and built mosques, hospitals, schools, and public works. And under his rule, trade flourished and the economy improved. But as we mentioned earlier, Saladin was a great warrior and he longed for more challenges. Not long after he consolidated his power in Egypt, he set his sights on conquering Syria, which was still in the hands of the Crusaders. In 1174, Saladin launched an invasion of Syria and quickly captured several Crusader-held cities. 2 years later, he captured Damascus, which made him the ruler of a vast empire stretching from Iraq to the Mediterranean Sea. And as he grew his empire, Saladin continued to make advances against the Crusaders. In 1183, he captured the city of Tiberias, which was a major victory for him because it brought him closer to Jerusalem. 3 years later, Saladin's armies met those of the Crusader Kingdom of Jerusalem at the Battle of Hattin. And although the Crusader army was larger than Saladin's, the Muslims were able to win a decisive victory. After the battle, Saladin marched on Jerusalem and laid siege to the city. And after a few weeks, the Crusaders surrendered. As we mentioned earlier, when he conquered Jerusalem, Saladin could have slaughtered every man, woman and child in the city, but he didn't. Instead, he offered them the chance to convert to Islam, leave the city, or die fighting. And this showed the world that Saladin wasn't just a bloodthirsty conqueror, but a man of honor and chivalry. After conquering Jerusalem, Saladin's reputation spread throughout Europe, and people began calling him the Black Knight, because he wore black armor, and as his fame grew, so did his power. In 1189, European leaders decided to launch the Third Crusade to take back Jerusalem. And this crusade was led by some of the most famous medieval warriors, King Philip II of France. King Richard the Lionheart of England and Holy Roman Emperor Frederick I Barbarossa. Now, when these three leaders heard about the great warrior Saladin, they wanted to meet him in battle. And although Saladin was outnumbered, he was not afraid. He knew that his soldiers were well trained and disciplined, and that they believed in the justice of their cause. And as it turned out, Saladin's army was too strong for the Crusaders. One of the most famous battles of the Third Crusade was the Battle of Arsuf. Here, Saladin's forces once again outnumbered the Crusaders. But as they clashed, it became clear that the Crusaders were no match for the Muslims. And although Richard fought bravely, he was forced to retreat. After the battle, Saladin offered Richard a chance to buy back the city of Jaffa, but Richard rejected his offer and prepared to fight another day. However, as winter approached, it became clear that the Crusaders were in trouble. They were low on supplies, and the Egyptian summer heat was making it difficult for them to fight. So in March of 1192, Richard and Saladin met together to discuss peace terms. And although the talks were tense at first, eventually they agreed to a truce. Under the terms of the truce, the Crusaders were allowed to keep some of the cities they had captured in Syria and Palestine, and Saladin was able to keep Jerusalem. And although the truce didn't last long, it was a good thing for both sides. It gave the Crusaders time to regroup, and Saladin time to consolidate his gains. After the truce, Saladin continued to expand his empire, and he became the most powerful ruler in the Middle East. He conquered the city of Acre in 1191, and then launched an invasion of Lebanon in 1192. And as his empire grew, so did his legend. The stories of his bravery and chivalry spread throughout the Middle East and Europe, and people began to tell stories about him. In 1193, Saladin died of a fever, while besieging a castle in northern Syria. And as he lay on his deathbed, he told his sons to continue his work and to rule with honor and justice. As it turned out, Saladin's sons did just that. They continued to expand the Ayyubid dynasty, and they ruled over Egypt and Syria until 1290, when the Mamluk dynasty overthrew them. But Saladin's legacy lived on. People continued to tell stories about him for centuries, and he became a symbol of honorable warfare. In fact, even today, Saladin is considered one of the greatest leaders in history. He was a brilliant military commander, a wise and fair ruler, and a man of honor and chivalry. And as we look back on his life, we can't help but be impressed by this great warrior. But now we want to ask you, what do you think of Saladin? Was he a hero or a villain? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more historical tales. Thanks for watching.